Hi, this is Micornus, Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. I want to deal with the topic today that speaks about ingredients of developing credibility as a church leader. Ingredients of developing credibility as a church leader. And I'm sure you would agree with me that credibility is very, very important in Christian leadership. Credibility is very important in somebody who's a church leader, whether you are an elder or a pastor, but it's very important for you to be credible before the eyes of your own people that are following you. Credible, actually, even in the community. Credible amongst each and everyone who knows you as a Christian leader, because that's that which will actually add trust or make people to trust and rely on what you're saying. And many people cannot listen to people that are not credible. And many people cannot follow people as well that are not credible. And I must really say that it depends on how credible you are for people to follow you, for people to serve under your ministry, for people to trust you as well and to support you in your ministry. So therefore, it is very important, therefore, to speak about how then to develop credibility as a Christian leader. And I want to start today by speaking about the ingredient, which is the most foundational one in building or in developing credibility, which is called character. I want to speak about character as the most foundation of Christian leadership. And I'm sure many of you would know that when you don't have a character as a Christian or as a Christian leader, there's nobody who trusts what you say. There's nobody who trusts credibility of your ministry either, because it is very important for you to have character. Therefore, people would know that you're credible. Now, godly character is very, very important, and it's actually the foundation in Christian leadership. Most important about character is that character develops what we call trust. Character is the most crucial factor in any relationship, and all the relationships, of course, because even the relationship between the pastor and his members, the relationship between the pastor and his leadership team, it is actually character that would actually come there as very, very important in any relationship as well, including in marriage, including in relationship with friends, including in work relationships as well. And I'm sure you would understand that when there's character, then you become credible. Now, your vision for the ministry as a pastor, your strategy, even your ability to communicate the Bible are all less important. And I'm sure there are many of the church leaders that rely on the level of their preaching, on the level of how they know the Bible, on how they can articulate things, on how charismatic they are. But I want to mention that character is the most important thing, because without character, all that becomes in vain. And even though you've got a vision that is very powerful, but without character, it becomes then very difficult for you to actually win the majority, for people to believe in who you are, and particularly in the ministry. And people don't want to follow people, as I said earlier, who are not having character, because character then becomes the most important thing. People don't follow the ministry's missions or vision statement only. They follow the leader who is serving character, because when you've got a vision statement, you can say it and say and write it down and show the people as well. But the people are still going to look at you as the leader to see how credible you are, or how much character do you have. And based on the character, then people start trusting you and they follow. Because you'll realize that when you are giving them the mission statement, they want to relate that mission statement with you and with your character as well. People follow you as an individual leader. They don't follow the statements that you usher. They don't follow the statements that you've written down on your walls and in your files and so on. But they're looking at your character, and people will follow you as a leader. Only after they are convinced that you are credible, if they are convinced that you are the person of good character, who is worthy of leading, will they follow then the missions and the vision you espouse? Because they're not going to start following the mission and the statements that you say or the vision that you have, but they are going to start looking at your character first. And only after they've seen that you are a man or a woman of character, I want to tell you now that they're going to start following the missions and the visions that you espouse as a leader. Now, to be a leader, you don't have to be the sharpest pencil in the drawer. You don't need to be the sharpest individual among the people. You don't need to be the smartest person amongst them. You don't need to be the most intelligent person. But you do have to display godly character. And that's very important, because the godly character then will speak for you. And people trust you, and they want to be part of what you're doing. And even the most intelligent people, they follow people of character. And that is what is said in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8, it speaks about character. When you have got character, then people want to follow you. People want to be part of your ministry. And that's very key. Then we cannot ignore the issue of character when it comes to credibility. Now, credibility and trustworthiness rest on the foundation of your character. Because without a character, then there will never be trustworthiness, because nobody will trust you. And secondly, nobody will see you as credible if you don't have character. And that's very important. To compromise your character is to compromise your leadership and to erode actually the trust that your followers have upon you. And I want to emphasize that as a church leader, as a Christian leader, you must prioritize character, because when character is not there, you're eroding the trustworthiness of you amongst your followers. You're actually eroding the belief that the people would have in you. And that's very, very important, that you realize that you don't need to erode the followership. You don't need to erode the trust that people have upon you for them to follow you. Because the first question followers will ask about their leaders is, do we trust them? Do we trust this man? Do we trust this woman? That's the first question that they will ask. Because if they trust you, they trust the leader, they will actually perform. They will actually do the things that they're supposed to do. And this type of a question is very important, that we ask ourselves as church leaders, are we trustworthy? Are we the people that we are saying we are we the people that our followers can see us as? Now, if they ask this question and they are not sure, or their answer is no, they will look to another for a leadership. I want to tell you now, and that's the reason why people move from one church to another, because they cannot get a yes answer on this question of saying, do we trust the leader? Do we trust him or her in what they are doing in this ministry? When they don't, and the answer is no, or they're doubting that, they will actually move further to the next person to look for leadership. And that's exactly what causes what we call church hopping. And I need to bring that up, because church hopping, sometimes we blame people, but it is because of lack of credibility, or also lack of character amongst the leaders that people submit under. And that's very, very important that we mention that, and I cannot ignore that at all. Now, I want you to look at this, because if people don't trust, people then don't want to submit. You must pause for a moment here to briefly review past leaders with whom you have worked at a church or in the corporate world, for instance. You yourself must look at it and say, the people that I've submitted under, why did I not trust them? Why did I trust so-and-so? Why did I follow so-and-so? Why did I want to work with so-and-so? It's purely because of credibility, because of their character that they've shown in everything that they are doing, so that it made me to believe in them and to work with them. Now, those whose faces come to your mind, look at them and check. Did any lack integrity? Did you respect them if they lacked integrity? Did you easily follow their leadership if they lacked that character? If you struggled under their leadership, it is because you didn't trust them. And of course, it's because they didn't have character before your eyes. And that's very key for us to look at that. And you'll see that the opposite will be the same as well. Now, for more than 2 decades, and I'm sure you'll realize that if you do a study for more than 2 decades, and you look at tracking back your mind on the last 20 years, for instance, with people that you worked with people that you've been faced with or experienced, you'll realize that it's only those that are credible that you wanted to submit under. It's those that have character that you wanted to work with. And those that don't have character, in most cases, you have left them, and you have looked for someone as a leader. This is very, very important for us to look at that. Now, researchers found out that the top quality leaders, or top quality that makes up a leader's credibility, is honesty. Well, when a leader becomes honest, when a leader becomes very open and transparent and honest with his own members or followers, that increases credibility and character. In the light of Paul, qualifications for church leaders as recorded in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 3, and I'm sure you would have seen that in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 3 verse 1 to 6. That's the records that Paul has recorded about church leaders. It is important to note that following actually the things that we can actually pick, and I want us to just maybe look at what Paul mentions there, that many of the people will be actually looking at the character. They will actually speak about how this person behaves. And that's the reason why you'll realize that what Paul has written is more about character than anything else. What is character? In chapter 1, you'll realize that the same chapter of Timothy is chapter 3. In chapter 3 of Timothy, from verse 1, actually, you'll also realize that there are qualities about a good leader. There are qualities that are distinct about a charactered person, both good and bad, of course, that reflect the total of a personality, that distinct qualities. Because the person that is actually a good leader, who's having character, is somebody that when you look at, you'll find most of the characteristics of a good character. And this is very, very important. And the book of 1 Timothy chapter 3, I would recommend you to really read that from verse 1 to 6, because that will help you to really understand what we're speaking about today. But character then becomes very, very important. And there is also a reference from the book of Matthew chapter 7, verse 16 to 17, what people do reflect who they are, and people do show who they are, and that's character. And that's the way you live, and that's the way you show up, and that's the way people start to know you. That's the character that comes to the faces of the people, and people understand what character is all about. The scriptures, therefore, identifies a number of general characteristics and qualities that specify building of trust, and some of them is keep your word. When you speak to people, keep your word. When you make promises, keep your word. And all that you promise to people, please keep it as well. And it is said also in the book of Numbers chapter 30, verse 1 to 2. It will show you exactly that which we're speaking about. In the book of Proverbs chapter 20, verse 25, I think you will have time to read that as well. Book of Proverbs chapter 20, verse 25, speaks about telling the truth. And Proverbs chapter 24, verse 26 as well, does speak a little bit about that. I'll actually just mention those scriptures that you can read at your own time. And the book of Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15 and 25. And please be authentic in everything that you do, because authenticity as well is actually just an addition to what character is all about. And that is said in the book of Matthew chapter 6, verse 1 to 18. You can read that at your own time. You must keep confidence of the people as well, and also let people have confidence in you. And that shows also in the book of Proverbs chapter 11, verse 13, Proverbs chapter 11, verse 13. And also I'll refer you to the book of Proverbs chapter 25, if you read verse 9 and 10 as well. But it's very important also for one to become fruitful if you are to build character. And you must be available to help people in their time of need as well. And that is something that people look at. When they look at character, they look at credibility. They look at, are you helpful in times of their needs? People look at that, as it is said in the book of Proverbs chapter 27, verse 10. Please make sure that you also accept the responsibility that is part of it. When somebody accepts the responsibility, people start to look at you and say, this person is credible, and people want to follow you. People want to do things that you want them to do. And you'll realize that it is actually when you are able to take responsibility for failure. In the book of Proverbs chapter 28, verse 13, it tells us about that people start respecting you as well. I want to end up here today, your host, Micornus Phokane. Thank you very much for listening to us and being part of this great topic. We'll take it up with part 2 tomorrow, and I hope that you'll join us and be part of it. But before I check out, I want to remind you about our Facebook page, Micornus Phokane, and our Facebook page, Church Governance Solutions. So please click likes on on those pages, follow us on those pages. Make sure that you click also notification bells there so that you can be notified when we've posted material of this kind. But also remember our YouTube channel under Micornus Phokane, a YouTube channel under Young Men Empowerment Forum. So please also make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll be helped by following us on those channels as well. May the good Lord bless you. Allow me to check out right here and say cheers for now.